Hello, welcome to the Dreamers Podcast. I'm your host, Anne-Lyse Wealth. I appreciate you for hanging with me on today's episode. You could have been doing a ton of different things, but you've decided to be here and tune into the podcast, so I really appreciate it. Today, I wanted to talk about letting go of society's expectations to become who you are meant to be. We all are born into families or surrounded by friends and people who love us, who may have different expectations or different desire for our life and what we're meant to be doing with our life. And I wanted to talk about that today because a good amount of us, if not most of us, will live through life trying to uphold these expectations. But I believe that in order to be free, we have to let go of every single one of them. And it might not be an easy process. You may even disappoint people along the way. But it's best to disappoint others than to disappoint yourself because you didn't go after what it is that you wanted for your life. I'll start with my own story. Back in college, I moved to the US to go to college, and when I first started, I was a pre-pharmacy major. After high school, I didn't really know what I wanted to do, and my dad happened to be a pharmacist, and he would have loved for me to become one as well. And so I enrolled in a pre-pharmacy program, and I was doing pretty well in school. I had good grades, but it wasn't really very interesting to me. But it was at a time where I didn't exactly know what I wanted to do. I didn't want to drop out and figure it out. So I took a few electives and I landed on this elective that I actually really enjoyed, which was accounting. And then I took another course. And at that point, I was like, okay, I definitely don't like pharmacy, and accounting is pretty interesting to me. So I did some research and I decided that that's what I was going to go for. And that was not a pleasant conversation with my family. They didn't understand my decision, but I stood firm on it. And I think at the time, it might have been a disappointment, but I decided to dive deep into this field. I went and got my CPA license, went to work for one of the top four firms in the country, and I was happy. I was happy that I was doing what I felt I needed to do for myself, even though it meant disappointing others, even though it meant disappointing the people that love me the most. But they came around when they realized how serious I was about this new field that I was getting into. But over the years, I started not being fulfilled professionally. From the outside looking in, I had a great job, and most people would probably not even understand. So when I left public accounting, I decided to go on a route that was unconventional and get into the fintech world, working in finance. I liked it for a little bit, and then again, I was ready for something else. I'm going to make a long story short, but one day I had to sit down and ask myself the right questions. And I'm so glad I did because it started this amazing journey that I've been on for the past few years where I feel like I am finally operating in my zone of genius, where I'm finally doing the work that I'm supposed to be doing. And it's so fulfilling. It doesn't have anything to do with money. I would literally do this work for free. This is where I am in my life right now. And I also understand that as we continuously evolve, we might want to do something different. We might want to try new things and do new things in life. And so I'm always open to that. But if the time comes where I feel like I want to do something else, these are the questions that I'm going to ask myself again. And I wanted to share with whomever may need this 5 questions that you can ask yourself to help you let go of society's expectations to become who you are meant to be. The first question is, are you fulfilled in your career and your life? When Monday comes or when Friday comes, how do you feel? Do you feel excited to start a new week? Do you feel excited about the projects that you have going on? Do you count down the days until the weekend? When Friday comes, do you feel energized? Do you live for the weekend? Or do you actually feel happy, not about the income alone, but the work that you do, the life that you live? I think the first step is to be honest with yourself when it comes to that. If the answer is yes to that question, then perfect. You don't have anything to do right now. But if the answer is no, then ask yourself, what do I need to change so that I can be fulfilled, so that I can be happy? What does that look like? What does a happy life to you look like? What does a fulfilling career look like to you? Take the time to ask yourself those questions. The third question is, do you use your gifts and natural talents in your everyday life? Those things that you do better than most people. I call them God-given abilities. And I think that each of us has at least one of them. When it comes to using your natural talents and abilities, if you can use them in your everyday life, it doesn't have to necessarily be at work. Maybe it's an organization that you volunteer with. Maybe you're a very talented musician, but you don't want to pursue music as a career, but you want to do gigs on the weekend and you enjoy what you do at work. Then you're still using your natural gifts and talents in your everyday life. The next question number 4 is, what would you do if money wasn't a factor? So let's say you didn't have to worry about paying your bills, paying your mortgage, thinking about saving for college, retirement. Let's say you didn't have to worry about any of those things. What would you do with your days? What would you do? Because once you answer that question, you can start thinking about, what can I do today so I can get to that life? Maybe there's a cause that you really care about. Maybe there's a problem in the world that you want to solve, but you can't because you have to worry about your bills. You don't have to worry about the how now. All you need to worry about right now is the what. And you'd be surprised, once the mind has a goal, what the mind can do. Question number 5. What would you do if you had 1 year left to live? How would you live your life? Where would you live? What would you do? What are some of the things on your bucket list that you would want to accomplish if you do have a bucket list? What are some of the things that you do right now that you do just because that's what's expected of you or because you don't want to be judged? Those are the things that you need to write down and stop doing. Stop doing those things. What are some of the things that you want to do, but you're afraid of being judged, of what people would say, what people would think? Those are the things that you need to write down and start doing. If you can't start doing them today, then at least write them down so then later on you can figure out how to do it. Really, life is too short to live it according to someone else's expectations, society's expectations of you. We are human beings, not human doings. We're here to live life, to optimize the time that we have here. And I don't think it's possible to do that when you're holding on to others' expectations. It's time to let go of them because there's no way to be fulfilled and be free if you put all that pressure from the outside on yourself. It's time for you to focus on what it is that you want for your life and silence the noise. It doesn't matter who it comes from. If it's not something that you feel deeply inside of you, then it's someone else's expectation. So I hope these questions are helpful, and I can't wait for you to live the life that you are meant to be. Let go of what others want or expect from you so that you can be who you are meant to be. And again, life is a journey. So that definition, those answers might evolve over time, but what matters most, in my opinion, is that you are being true to yourself. So quick recap. Question number 1, are you fulfilled in your career and in your life? If the answer is no, what would it take for you to be fulfilled? Number 3, do you use your gifts and talents in your everyday life? Question number 4, what would you do if money wasn't a factor in your life? Number 5, what would you do if you had 1 year left to live? I hope these questions are helpful. As I said earlier, I will continue to ask myself those questions to make sure that I'm not living someone else's life, someone else's expectations of me. That's it for today's episode.